Then, of course, there is the world of entertainment. And Christopher Nolan's latest release seems to have taken social media and the world by storm. It's pulling moviegoers back to the cinema halls, and they're doing it with fervor. They're all thronging back. Based on this 2005 biography, The American Prometheus, this movie is set around the Second World War and, of course, the birth of nuclear weapons. The legend of Nolan and the history, these two combined, seem to be drawing cinephiles back to theatre halls to take in the beauty of filmmaking, as it were. To theatres, which were, of course, were feeling this huge brunt. The pandemic has really affected their business. Many cinema halls, the single screens had to close down, and them not making any business during the pandemic has led to a lot of pain as far as the entire business of film exhibition goes. Diminished footfall at the start, of course, after things resumed, but now it seems there is the story of revival for theatres and cinema halls. Let's discuss this. Komal Nahta is our film trade analyst joining us on the show, along with Kamal Gianchandani, the CEO of PVR Inox Pictures. Great to have you, gentlemen. Do tell us, is this time for celebration as far as the kind of returns from the release of these films are concerned? Mr. Gianchandani, are you really partying now?
Yeah, I mean, all I can say is that it was literally impossible to get tickets over the weekend, even for the friends and family members. But I'm not complaining. This is a good problem to have. So not partying yet, but yes, we are due for a big party. We've been waiting for this opportunity for quite a few quarters, and it's finally come. We could see a lot of signals, but frankly, we didn't expect this sort of over-indexing in terms of expectations. The business that we were expecting from both Oppenheimer and Barbie, both films have exceeded expectations by a big margin. So very happy, delighted with the response.
Komal Nahta, weigh in on this, because in India itself, and we are looking at the global numbers, but here too, the opening weekend for Oppenheimer, we've crossed the 60 crore rupee mark. Why do you think it's worked?
I think Christopher Nolan is a big brand, and there was already immense craze for the film. More importantly, the film lived up to those expectations. So nobody came out disappointed. In fact, everybody was ecstatic. They said they've never seen something like this. The last half an hour to 45 minutes of the film were absolutely brilliant. I mean, they just blew one's mind off. So I think it deserves all the success that it's getting. I'm not surprised at all after watching the film, because it deserves these kind of collections and it deserves this kind of success.
Where are expectations pegged now? Because, I mean, there are certain benchmarks, and that Hollywood films had to set these benchmarks as long as they've taken to come. Now, what are you working with? The kind of releases that you're going to have after these two films, and you must tell us how Barbie has done against an Oppenheimer for you, because this is one weekend, and perhaps the kind of traction these two films have gotten in the opening weekend, we can see much more of it, not just through these two films, but perhaps theatregoers would want to stay in theatre halls and expect better fare.
Barbie has also done exceedingly well, and to be honest, a lot of people thought of Barbie as a frivolous subject, something which will probably attract only the teenagers. But I can add to what Komalji was saying, not just Oppenheimer, but Barbie is also a very deep, fantastically executed film. And I think both films will be around at the box office for a long time. The point I was trying to make was we could see this, like both films are great. I mean, the films are absolutely fantastic, no doubt about that. But there is also a lot of pent-up demand. You know, people have been away from cinemas for a long time. We could see signals, from Fast Tracks, which came out earlier in Q1, that performed really well at the box office. IB-71, a small Hindi film with Vidyut Jamal, that also did quite well. Jara Hatke Jara Bachke turned out to be a sleeper hit. Mission Impossible, such fantastic collections, and is sustaining so well. I mean, even in the second weekend, is done so well. So we could see this positive build-up which was taking place. And I think a lot of collection that you're seeing, a lot of admissions, footfalls that you're seeing for Oppenheimer and Barbie are also reflecting that pent-up demand, which has been gradually building, getting built up over the last few quarters. And, I think we've reached that threshold level where things are just completely set to take off. And Oppenheimer, Barbie, they would be around at the box office for a long time. But I believe Karan Johar's next film, which is coming out this Friday, that would also do fantastic box office numbers. So fingers crossed is looking very, very positive for the next, I would say, 5 to 6 months.
Next 5 to 6 months, Mr. Gianchandani is saying, looks promising. But Komal Nahta, I remember speaking to you during the pandemic. And that time, things weren't looking promising at all. From that point to this pent-up demand, now getting the supply of films, they happen to be from Hollywood. How have we done since the reopening, since people have started going back to theaters? How exactly has this entire period been for cinema lovers?
See, a Pathan and a Kerala story, the Kerala story. These two sort of saved the first half of the year. But for these two films, things would have been pretty bad because there were a lot of films which did not do well. There were a lot of films with high expectations, but they failed to live up to those expectations. Definitely, there is a shift of the audience from the cinemas to home viewing. OTT seems to be posing a very tough competition, but let's just hope that Oppenheimer and Barbie's success underlines the fact that if you give them good content, they are more than willing to come to the cinemas, because they could have as well waited for these films to come on OTT. But if they have taken the pain, taken the trouble, spent the money to come to the cinemas, it means it is content and only content which can drive people. A couple of cinemas, Kamalji would be able to elaborate more. They have ticket rates of 2,500 and they are sold out. So sometimes when we say the ticket rates are too high, this contradicts that theory that even the highest of ticket rates is not a dampener if the content is good. So when we talk about very high ticket rates and not very affordable, what we are actually saying is very high ticket rates compared to the content that is on offer. If the content is good, no ticket rate is high.
About rates and what people are willing to pay for good content, Mr. Gianchandani. Tell us about this entire experience and this entire journey ever since we've reopened our theaters after the pandemic. How has that panned out? And now that you're seeing this pent-up demand getting served, this kind of entertainment fare, are people spending as much or perhaps more than they ever did on F&B and such? Because that just keeps adding to the entire experience. And what people would be paying for popcorn, what they may not be willing to spend earlier, perhaps they are now because they're happy with what's being shown on cinema screens.
Vikram, it's been a tough journey. There is no denying this fact post-COVID, except one quarter, which is in 2022. I would say 4 months, not just one quarter, but 4 months from March 2022 till June end 2022, we saw tremendous demand. I mean, all the films that released in that period exceeded our expectations and attracted footfalls at a level that we had not seen before. But post that, since July 2022, it's been a tough journey for most cinemas. PVR Inox is no exception. It's also reflected in our numbers, the quarterly numbers that we've declared. But from this quarter, I think in April, May, June of this year, 2023, there was definitely lack of good content. I think a lot of producers, they were trying to figure out what was the right film or what was the right approach to go out with respect to a theatrical film. And then IPL is such a big property, a lot of producers decided to stay away. We definitely were short of good quality films, but in July, towards the end of June, as soon as good quality, big marquee films have started to come out, we are seeing a lot of positive signals. We are seeing massive amount of pent-up demand. People are absolutely keen to come back to theaters. Specifically on your ticket price, F&B price point that you were making.
Yes.
Yes, select cinemas are charging 2,000 rupees as a ticket price. But these are IMAX properties. These are premium segment properties in a very few selected locations. Variable, we practice variable ticket pricing. So on weekend, weekdays, during the day, we have different slabs of ticket prices which are available to our customers. Oppenheimer was available as, within Bombay City at a ticket price as low as 200 rupees and also at a ticket price which was as high as 2,000 rupees. It's really, we leave it to the discretion of customers to decide what sort of experience do they want to engage with. If people want to, and there was tremendous amount of demand for IMAX, despite ticket prices being between 1,000 and 2,000. We've been oversold. We've been sold out, not just for the weekend, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all days are packed.
Yes.
So clearly, when it comes to compelling content, when it comes to, good quality content, people have absolutely no problem accepting the ticket prices that we've offered them. But we've also been extremely judicious in offering a fair ticket price, which is reasonable and which caters to demand in different pockets, different aspirations, different experiences. We've been quite judicious and mindful about that.
Yeah, well, of course, as far as the cinema goers are concerned, they're only happy when they know there is this big ticket movie that is on offer, and they're willing to open up their pockets to be able to enjoy that kind of fare. Whether or not this comes at the cost of what Bollywood brings to the table, because now benchmarks are set, one wonders, and perhaps that's for a larger discussion. But Komal Nahta and Mr. Gianchandani, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on how we've seen Oppenheimer and Barbie really bring theatre goers back to cinema halls.